Traditionally, PCI compliance has been something that all businesses, all merchants who take credit cards have needed to be able to comply with. And we've seen a lot of activity over the years around securing their websites. PCI compliance as defined by Visa and MasterCard and Amex is a standard that all merchants need to comply with across all channels of communication in their business. And the one I'd like to focus on today, given this particular audience, is the idea of applying PCI compliance to unified communications phone calls. Not necessarily those you might find in a call center or a transaction you might find online, but what are those transactions that are occurring in non-structured, non-call center based environments that you guys own as the endpoints, as service providers, that we can help work with you to add value. And the idea here is to leverage your network, is to use the controls that you have in your network, the APIs that you make available in partnership with us, BroadSource, to be able to remove all that sensitive information that's running across your networks. Credit card details, we want to start with those. But over the years to come, we think there's a fantastic opportunity for service providers to be able to monetize the removal of sensitive data from communications between merchants and their customers. And for the process of removing that piece of sensitive information, we're benefiting a whole lot of stakeholders here. The customers don't particularly want to share their sensitive data. Businesses more and more don't necessarily want to store that information anymore because they become a honeypot for the bad guys. And so being able to remove this sensitive information, and today we talk specifically about PCI and credit cards, we think is an unbelievable opportunity for service providers to take some responsibility for that business phone call running across the network and make it more secure. So let's talk about credit cards. It's probably the number one thing we'd like to work with you guys on, and that is based on a standard called PCI 3.2.1. It's been around for a long, long time as defined by the card schemes, and every merchant on the planet, depending on how many transactions you do, needs to comply. March 31 next year is an unbelievably important date for merchants across the planet because they need to have their transition plans in place to move to PCI 4.0. It only happens once every 8 to 10 years. This is the moment, I think, right now where service providers can play a role in helping merchants, your customers, transition from this way of saying that you're compliant to the future state of having to prove that you're compliant. This transition from I'm compliant against my checklist to in March next year having to prove with evidence that you are compliant, I think is a catalyst for many customers to want to outsource this obligation. And they're going to start asking you, the suppliers of this business phone call, how can we help? Okay, so that's the premise for today. When you answer that question, how can I help? Hopefully you've got an opportunity to monetize the answer. So I quickly reflected on the fact that much investment, much activity has been in the area of online transaction management, securing those things, putting technology into call centers to be able to secure a call center transaction. But the greatest and the weakest link in most businesses' security posture right now are those phone calls that are running across your unified communications networks into non-call center based environments, medical clinics, retail franchises, plumbers, hotels, hospitality, all those places that are not call centers, but people are being asked to share their credit card details over the phone. Pretty important for the business to take that call. Pretty important not to transfer that call off to a call center, potentially 9% of the time losing the transaction. Pretty important not to transfer that customer off to a website because that's where the competition sits. So businesses are being forced to take the card payment over the phone and know they're in breach. Come March next year, they're going to have to prove that they're clean and that they're not in breach. I was reading an article that Verizon put out a couple of years ago now, saying that 4 out of 5 of their customers are by definition non-compliant against their PCI DSS obligations. I think in unified comms, with all these credit cards racing around your networks, it's probably 5 out of 5. Particularly in UCaaS, because there has not been a solution until now to be able to secure those unique
phone calls across UCaaS networks. So we want to work with you to target these sorts of endpoints. And the way we're going to do that is by leveraging your network and our PCI voice cloud. And so let's quickly talk to the traditional technologies that have not been able to scale, those things you might have seen in a call center. You may well be selling these technologies. PCI compliance in call centers has been around for a while. But you need a box, and that box sits in line and it listens to all calls all the time. Maybe only 5% of those calls end up in a credit card payment, but the box is in place. All the calls trunk through that box, and every call can be secured. But we're unified comms guys, we're UCaaS guys. And we have customers that have 600 sites. How do we secure those endpoints? And that needs different technology to do that. And it's not just our technology, it's actually your technology that runs in your cloud as well. And that's about having SecureCall, our PCI compliant cloud, connect into the calling APIs of your network so that we can start participating in your UCaaS phone calls. Then it means we together can go and approach these types of cohorts of customers. These are largely untouched in terms of a security profile overlay for the phone calls that are running in their networks. You guys know that there's credit cards running across your networks to these endpoints in small hunt groups, inside booking offices of a natural nature park, taking bookings over the phone for campsites, for telehealth medical consults, all those sorts of things. And this new horizon that PCI DSS 4.0 is going to really drive for additional compliance tools. So my ask is that we start to have conversations with you to enable your sales team to answer the incoming questions that are coming from the industry, March 31, about is your business voice network PCI compliant and are my endpoints compliant? You may not have had an answer up until now, but as of today, I'd like to suggest that working with you, you now do. So I'm going to do a quick demo.
Can I help you with this demo?
You can. But everyone I've seen you do over the last decade, I don't know if you've had a chance to see
No, I
Dag
can mess this one up.
contribute to demos over the last decade. You got me? Alright. We all turn to shit, just letting you know. Alright. So, I want to show you a demo. This is a WebEx endpoint running on a UCaaS network. On the left-hand side there. Standard phone. It could be a physical phone, it could be a Yagi phone, Cisco phone, Polycom phone, Grand Stream phone, any SIP endpoint running in a business. At a retail shop front, at a medical clinic. That's a UCaaS endpoint. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just using a soft client so you can see the action. And on the right-hand side is a virtual payment terminal. It's a terminal where traditionally staff members in businesses would be asking for credit card details and putting credit card details into the form, submitting the form to a payment gateway. You see this particular style of application on every single merchant's desktop across accounts receivables departments, in every plumbing outfit across the country where they've sort of got their CRM platforms and desktop applications and a payment terminal. This is our payment terminal. It's also an API that gets embedded into other people's applications like a POS system or a property management system or a CRM system. So it's the blue button that's the important bit here. This blue button is the intersection point between your UCaaS cloud and our PCI compliant cloud. And so we're intersecting these two transactions now, tying the two transactions together for the first time. So we're going to go through a role play. I think Dag has decided, because he put his hand up, to kind of book a next year post Cavell event. And I think it's going to be a golf day, golf and spa. You're not a sporty guy, right? But as a giver, you're going to give to everyone else. You're going to take us away for a weekend. You're going to call a resort and ask the resort events people to take a booking in a year's time, and they're going to ask for a deposit. That person's not in a call center. They're sitting behind a UCaaS endpoint in a hotel chain inside the Golf Pro shop or something like that. And Dag wants to make So let's go through the process. I'm going to get Dag to give this hotel's chain's Golf Pro a call to make a booking. So my laptop's reconnected. I'm connected to the internet. This phone should ring. Give it a call for me. There's an inbound phone call just to my desktop. I'll answer it. And I'll put it on mute. So we now got a phone call running. It's just a normal standard UCaaS phone call. It can go for an hour for any reasons. But at a certain moment in the conversation, there's an opportunity for me as the merchant to introduce the BroadSource PCI cloud into the conversation. Only for that moment, which is the difference between a UCaaS style approach to solving a problem and a call center based approach. Not sitting in line for an hour and a half on the bet that one of these phone calls might need to be secured. This is independent clouds being brought together just in time, in real time, based on your network APIs. And so we can't do this without leveraging your call control APIs. And that's what we try and leverage here. We want to maximize the value of your network and the investments you've made in your network and the APIs that are on your network. And we will leverage them and bring value to those APIs. And now that I'm on the call and Dad's agreed that he's going to book golf lessons for 238 Cavell people that have attended next year's event, I'm just going to secure this call. Securing the call is in effect introducing our global PCI compliant voice cloud into this UCaaS conversation in real time. The call's now secured. You heard a bit of stuff going on, a bit of funky call hold, a bit of call transfer. We've actually created a unique call flow that the assessors deem as being PCI compliant on your networks. Now I can go through the process of putting the details as the merchant. And I can put Bag's details down as the card holder. The difference now is that I don't ask Bag for his details any longer. The call's been secured. It's now up to Bag to enter his credit card details, and I as the business do not receive them, and therefore I become PCI compliant. So you want to go ahead and enter your credit card details, and you can see that the merchant is getting those details, but they're being masked. Good, that's a good credit card, Dave. When you're ready, just put in your expiry date for me. Great, good expiry. Could you enter your CVV for me, Dave? Just enter it, I'm not going to see it. So just confirming I'm about to charge your credit card, $999, ending in 1111. Are you okay for me to do that? Right. So now I'm going to interact with my bank by my payment gateway. And that's done. They can hang up the call and we're done. So 59 seconds left. So my ask. So we're wanting to attach this to your UCaaS services as a value-added service in PCI compliance for non-call centers. We can do call centers too, if you ask us. This is about the long tail of every other endpoint, every hospitality, every retail, every medical surgeons, every car dealership, all your endpoints. From time to time we'll take a payment, and we want to work with you guys to interconnect your network via a SIP trunk into our network, and for us to be able to control the phone calls on your network and remove sensitive data from your network. And in removing that data from the network, we hope you guys can charge your customers a premium for that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you out and really appreciate the opportunity to spend time.